Welcome to the state of Ohio. I'm Karen Kassler. Ohio's last execution was in July 2018, 6 months before Governor Mike DeWine took office. Some of his fellow Republican lawmakers say they want to kickstart the stalled capital punishment system by adding nitrogen gas as a second option for Ohio to use in carrying out executions. My Statehouse News Bureau colleague Sarah Donaldson is here with more.
House Bill 392's introduction on Tuesday came just days after Alabama, for the first time in U.S. history, administered nitrogen via a gas mask to execute 58-year-old Kenneth Smith.
I am aware of the moral weight of this debate, but this is the law of the land.
Attorney General Dave Yost, a Republican, on Tuesday called the nearly 6-year standstill in executions an abdication of the state. House Bill 392, introduced this week by Republican Representatives Brian Stewart and Phil Plummer, would still allow for lethal injections, giving inmates the choice between the two, but saying if drugs aren't available, nitrogen gas will be used. It would also restore previous confidentiality protections for pharmaceutical companies that provide drugs to be used in executions. As of now, nitrogen hypoxia is on the books as a proper method for execution in only 3 states: Alabama, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. It's essentially asphyxiation with a nitrogen gas mask. Yost says he wants HB 392 to kick off a bigger conversation.
The arguments are going to be made for the justice of this current system. The arguments are going to be made for the righteousness of this ultimate penalty for the worst of the worst. And we're going to have a debate that's long overdue.
And it's already renewed some debate in Columbus over how and if to carry out executions in Ohio. Lou Tobin, the executive director of the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association, says Ohio needs to weigh fairness of both those convicted of crimes and their victims.
We're not going to avoid causing somebody who's being executed some level of distress. But the question is whether it amounts to a violation of the Eighth Amendment and whether it amounts to torture and cruel and unusual punishment. And I don't think anything that we saw in Alabama indicated that.
His association has been calling to add nitrogen gas as a secondary method for years. Last year, the state outlawed putting down pets by suffocating them with gas, barring all non-anesthetic inhalants. All but a handful of lawmakers backed that bill when it was moving through the legislature in 2022. Some Democrats, like Senate Minority Leader Nikki Antonio, say they think it's a double standard in the current context. Antonio is a longtime opponent of the death penalty. She called HB 392 barbaric.
We as a legislature said that is cruel and inhuman to do to an animal. And yet we have folks that are going to suggest that we do this to people on death row.
But Plummer voted for the animal cruelty bill last legislative session and says it's not a fair line to draw.
That's apples and oranges when you're comparing dogs.
Plummer says he believes the focus is too often on death row inmates, not their victims.
I mean, I get tired of these liberals saying, oh, this person suffered and twitched. Well, I mean, when you stab somebody 39 times and kill them, where's the compassion for that person?
But the death penalty has created concern among some who were closely involved in carrying it out. That includes Republican former Governor Bob Taft, with 24 executions during his 8 years, and Democratic former Governor Ted Strickland, with 17 executions in his 4 years. Gary Moore, the director of the state prisons department under Republican former Governor John Kasich, oversaw 15 executions. Moore says he's not sure nitrogen gas is a proven method to peacefully end a condemned inmate's life.
Executions have had a big impact on me and continue to, and I just believe that if the law continues with executions, the method should be peaceful. But I'm not convinced the way a person ends life with nitrogen meets my belief that people shouldn't struggle, and staff that are responsible for executions shouldn't be responsible for watching an administration of someone that is struggling to end life.
So far, 11 other Republicans have signed on as co-sponsors of the nitrogen gas executions bill. Sarah Donaldson, Statehouse News Bureau.